Now we are moving to part C questions of the University question paper April 2016 of compiler design. And the 20th question is construct a DFA for the regular expression A by B star of A by B. Regular expression is used to represent the language of finite automata. Finite automata, it is a recognizer for a language. It's a program that takes as input a string X and answers S if X is a sentence of the language and no otherwise. A regular expression is compiled into a recognizer by constructing a generalized transition diagram called a finite automaton, which is represented as FA. Finite automata can be non-deterministic finite automata NFA or deterministic finite automata DFA. It is given by m equal to bracket of q comma sigma comma q naught comma f comma delta, where q is set of states, sigma set of input symbols, q naught start state, f is set of final states, and delta translation function mapping states to input symbol. So non-deterministic finite automata NFA. So more than one transaction occurs for any input symbol from a state. Transition can occur even on empty strings. Deterministic finite automata, for each state and for each symbol, exactly one transaction occurs for that state. Regular expression can be converted into DFA by the following method. Thompson's subset constructions. Given regular expression is converted into NFA, resultant NFA is converted into DFA. Direct method. In a direct method, given regular expression is converted directly into DFA. So rules for conversion of regular expressions to NFA. So here we are given with a variety of diagrams. First one is for star union. So in that R equal to R1 plus R2. So the diagram shows you what is happening there. And we are going to the next diagram, concatenation. So concatenation is represented by R equal to R1 star R2, and then diagram you can find out how the concatenation is happening. Next one is closure E. It is represented by R equal to R1 power of star. Next is E closure. E closure is a set of states that are reachable from the state occurring concerned on taking empty string as input. So that diagram is also given here. Next one is example 2. Next we are going for subset construction. Given regular expression is converted into NFA, then NFA is converted into DFA, and the following steps are given below. Convert into NFA using above rules for operators. Number 2, find E closure of all states. Number 3, start with epsilon closure of start state of NFA. And number 4, apply the input symbols and find its epsilon closure. Number 5, analyze the output state to find whether it is a new state. Next is we are moving for the sixth one. If new state is found, repeat step 4 and 5 until no more new states are found. Next is step number 7. Construct the transition table for dtran function. And next number 8. Draw the transition diagram with start state as the E closure state of NFA, and final state is the state that contains final state of NFA. Next we are going to the 21st question. Explain the operator precedent parser with suitable example. A grammar that is generated to define the mathematical operator is called operator grammar, with some restrictions on grammar. An operator precedence grammar is a context-free grammar that has the property that no production has either an empty right hand side or two adjacent non-terminals in its right hand side. Example, this is the example of operator grammar. E gives E plus E or E star E or ID. However, grammar that is given below is not an operator grammar because two non-terminals are adjacent to each other. So S gives SAS by small a gives BSB by B. Although we can convert it into an operator grammar, so S gives SBSBS by SBS by A gives BSB by B. Operator precedence parser. There are two methods for determining what precedence relation should hold between a pair of terminals. Number one, use the conventional associativity and precedence of operator. And number two, the second method of selecting operator precedence relation is first to construct an unambiguous grammar for the language, a grammar that reflects the correct associativity and precedence in its past trees. Operator precedence grammar is kind of shift reduce parsing method. It is applied to a small class of operator grammars. A grammar is said to be operational precedence grammar if it has two properties. Number one, no RHS of any production has a epsilon. Number two, no two non-terminals are adjacent. There are three operator precedence relations. A greater than B means that the terminal A has the highest precedence than terminal B. A is less than B means that terminal A has a lower precedence than terminal B. A belongs to B means that the terminal A and B both have same precedence. An operator precedence parser is a simple shift reduce parser that is capable of parsing a subset of LR of one grammar. Operator precedence parsers are not used often in practice, however, they do not have some properties that make them useful within a larger design. First, they are simple enough to write by hand, which is not generally the case with more sophisticated right shift reduce parsers. Second, they can be written to construct an operator table at runtime. Precedence climbing method. The precedence climbing method is a compact, efficient and flexible algorithm for parsing expressions that was first described by Martin Richards. With many levels of precedence, implementing this grammar with a predictive recursive descent parsers can become inefficient. Passing a number, for example, can require 5 functions calls, one for each non-terminals in the grammar until reaching primary. An operator precedence parser can do the same more efficiently. The idea is that we can lift associate the arithmetic operators as long as we find operators with the same precedence. But we have to save a temporary result to evaluate higher precedence relations. This algorithm that is presented here does not need an explicit stack. So here given pseudocode is given here. So if you are seeing the diagram, you can find out what is the pseudocode for that. Next is the example execution of the algorithm. An example execution on the expression 2 plus 3 star of 4 plus 5 equal to 19 is as shown below. The look ahead token is plus with precedence 1. OP is plus and the input is advanced. RHS is 3. The look ahead token is star and finally 12 is returned. So by this we can proceed like this, and finally we can move for produces this output, which is probably not what it is intended. And a limitation to this strategy is that unary operators must all have higher precedence than infix operators. The negative operator in the above code has a higher precedence than exponentiation. Running the program with this input gives the following output as shown in the below figure. Next we are going for the 22nd question. Discuss the implementation of syntax directed translation. So now first is the background. Parser uses a CFG, that is context free grammar, to validate the input string and produces output for next phase of the compiler. Definition: syntax directed translation are augmented rules to the grammar that facilitate semantic analysis. SDT is a syntax directed translation, involves parsing information bottom up and or top down. The parser is form of attributes attached to the nodes. Syntax directed translation uses the following: number 1, lexical values of nodes; number 2, constants; and number 3, attributes associated to the non-terminal in their definitions. This is a grammar to syntactically validate an expression having additions and multiplications in it. Now to carry out semantic analysis, we will augment STT rules to this grammar. For understanding translation rules further, we take the first STT augmented to E gives E plus T. So which is the production rule. The translation rule is considered as val as attributes for both the non-terminals E and T. So let's take a string to see how semantic analysis happens. So S gives 2 plus 3 star 4. Past correspond to S would be as shown in the given below. To evaluate translation rules, we can employ one depth first search traversal on the past tree. This is possible only because STT rules doesn't impose any specific order on evaluation until children attributes are contributed before parents for a grammar having all synthesized attributes. So next is that synthesized attributes are such attributes that depend on only on the attributes values of children nodes. And next we are going for inherited attributes are such attributes that depend on parents and or sibling attributes. That's the answer for the 22nd question. And now next we are moving for the 23rd question in part C. Explain the principal sources of optimization. The transformation of a program is called local if it can be performed by looking only at the statements in a basic block. Otherwise it is called global. Many transformations can be performed at both the local and global levels. Local transformations are usually performed first. Function preserving transformations. There are a number of ways in which a compiler can improve a program without changing the functions it computes. So function preserving transformations example. They are common sub-expressions elimination, copy propagation, dead code elimination, and constant folding. So here in the bottom the example for all these 4 categories are given. So common sub-expression elimination. For example, T1 is assigned to 4 star I, T2 is assigned to A of T1, T3 is assigned to 4 star J, T4 is assigned to 4 star I, T5 is assigned to N, T6 is assigned to B of T4 plus T5. So copy propagation. For example, X equal to Pi, A equal to X star of R star of R. The optimization using copy propagation can be done as follows. A equal to P of I star of R star R. Here the variable X is eliminated. The next one is for dead code elimination, and the constant folding is given here in the below diagram. So as a next part we are also having machine independent optimization. In this optimization the compiler takes in the intermediate code and transforms a part of the code that does not involve any CPU registers and absolute memory locations. And next machine dependent optimizations. In machine dependent optimization is done after the target code has been generated and when the code is transformed according to the target machine architecture. So next is basic block identification. We may use the following algorithm to find the basic blocks in a program. Search header statements of all the basic blocks from where a basic block starts. First statement of the program, statement that are target of any branch, statement that follows any branch, header statements and the statements following them from a basic block. A basic block does not include any header statements of any other basic blocks. Next one is the control flow graph. Basic blocks in a program can be represented by means of control flow graph. So that's the end of that question. And next we are moving for the last question in part C. That's the 24th question. Discuss various types of errors. So error handling in compiler design. The tasks of the error handler processor are to detect error, report it to the user, and then make some recovery strategy and implement them to handle errors. An error is the blank entries in the symbol table. Types or sources of errors: a runtime error, a compile time error. These are all the basic 2 types of errors. A runtime error is an error which takes place during the execution of the program and usually happens because of adverse system parameters or invalid input data. Next we are going for compile time errors. It arises at compile time before execution of the program. Syntax error or missing file references that prevents the program from successfully compiling is the example of this. Classification of compile time errors. So lexical, syntactical, semantical, logical. Lexical, this includes misspelling or identifiers, keywords or operators. In syntactical, missing semicolon or unbalanced parentheses. In semantical, incompatible value assignment or type mismatches between operator and operand. And in logical, code not reachable, infinite loop, etc. So the goal is to detection of an error as soon as possible without further consuming unnecessary input. How detect an error as soon as the prefix of the input does not match a prefix of a string in the language. So we are having different modes for the error here, and the first one is panic mode recovery. This is the easiest way of error recovery, and also it prevents the parser from developing infinite loops while recovering errors. And next one is pace level recovery. Performs local corrections on the input to repair the error, but error correction is difficult in this strategy. Next one is error production. Some common errors are known to the compiler designers that may occur in the code. And last one is the global correction. It aims is to make as few changes as possible while converting an incorrect input string to a valid string. So that's the end of part C.